Americans good? Kabul government good? Taliban bad? Pakistan bad? Remember when I was telling at the time of Obama to Mr. Karzai that the Americans are going to out, Karzai was telling me, no, Americans are not going out. When I was telling to Ashraf Ghani, Americans are going out, he said, no, Americans are not going out. One of the generous countries is Pakistan. I was a refugee here, and I felt I was at home. The situation in Afghanistan, I think, that is better than before. You know that better and bad, they are all relative things. Better than what? Better than before because in the past 20 years, international community spent billions of dollars in supporting the government with 150,000 world-class soldiers with spending billions and billions of dollars. And in addition to that, from the manpower skill, the whole world was there. The one president was named #1 mutafakkir of the world, the other was #2 mutafakkir of the world. So the mutafakkirin of the world were in Afghanistan, and that was working. So they were working like that. But today we see that all those inputs, all those investments didn't give fruit, that collapsed. Not collapsed by the Taliban, not collapsed by the enemy, collapsed by themselves. The whole system collapsed. There were many reasons that I do not go to those reasons because there are many. This is a job of the researcher to but the conclusion is that now we have a new government because that failed, the other one failed. We have no other alternative to support this government because there is no other one. So we have to support. But we are inherited with a huge amount of work. A country with billions of dollars invested in didn't work. Thousands for economics that the lady is interested with the economics, I will tell you. We had in Afghanistan, during the American presence, we had 350,000 soldiers, plus 150,000 militia in Darbakan. 500,000 people, armed people, were receiving salary from the Americans. Now we don't need those. Afghanistan will not be invaded by anyone. We do not need 500,000 soldiers. The rest, for probably 50,000 we need or around. But what about those? They have families. Who will pay them? If not, they were dependent. The same, we had around 400,000 workers in the government. Hundreds of women's societies, thousands of men's societies, civil societies, human rights societies. I mean, thousands of these, hundreds of 630 TV and radios, all supported by international community. From where they can find fund now? They have families. The international community depended people upon them. When they go out, the people have to cry. Why they gone? And the next government had to find their living, otherwise that is failed. So we are faced with such huge problem. You do not have resources. The resources, those 96% of the government expenditure was coming from the outside. So you do not have now. The people will ask because they have families. Then the basic question of the government will come to the people, to the government as well, whether the government is placed to feed the people or the government is placed to provide services. This is a big, basic question. Government in most of the world is institution to provide services. Yes, in one office, if there is job for 5 people, if you employ 50 people, that is good, because people will find salaries, their families will find living. But 50 people doing the job of 5 people, that is not good for the government. That will be disastrous, because that will corrupt. So the question will come whether you need those 5 people to provide services to be efficient, or you have to feed 50 people and sacrifice the basic job of the government, which is providing services. So now this Taliban government is faced with such a big question as well. The other question is the skill power. You need to run the government by skilled people. Every subject needs people. The Americans, when coming out, they took their military hardware with them as much as they could, but those who they could not take them, they destroyed. They didn't lift those equipments to the Afghan government, though the government was their own government. But they destroyed all military equipments or other technical or electronic equipment. The same happened with manpower. When the Americans were coming out, they brought huge airplanes and told to the people, anyone want to come with us, come. We are going to take you out from the country. Thousands of people rushed into the airport. There were 250,000, 2,500 so American soldiers in Afghanistan. In addition, the other NATO soldiers, probably not more than 10,000, but they evacuated 123,000 so far, and 1,000 or more are going to be evacuated. So that was another thing, that the new government will face lack of skilled people. And those who gone. Those who are not gone, their fire will be under their feet, just to go, waiting to go, preparing to go, and not their heart not be in the country to serve, because their door is still open. That is the case, but I think opportunities are also there. These people who want to go, this is human rights. If they want to go, okay. If they want to, before their borders were not open, they were not allowed. Now, if they want to allow them go, they will go. But people, refugees in the past 40 years, they were trained in Pakistan. The refugees got education thanks to the Pakistan government and people. And these refugees will go there, and they will serve and they will help. I think this is promising, and if a good plan is made for this, this gap can be filled and very good filled. So this is an area that we have to work upon carefully. The Afghans are mainly here, millions of people, because of jang, because of war, because of the push factor. In the host countries, some countries are providing help to the refugees. Some people have constraints. Some people, in some countries, the children of refugees are not allowed to schools. They are not allowed to develop. In some countries, some are generous. One of the generous countries is Pakistan. I was a refugee here, and I felt I was at home. I didn't feel I was a refugee. My children were educating here, and I had friends, and I was speaking, I was sitting. So thanks to the Pakistan government, thanks to the Pakistan people, and many of Afghan children got education here. Being in Kabul, my experience is, when I have seen, in the past 20 years, many people, Afghans from different countries of the world, returned to Afghanistan, brought by the Americans, brought by the NATO to serve in Afghanistan. And refugees from Pakistan also, the Afghan refugees, returned. Quite interesting. The Afghan refugees returned from Pakistan, they were more successful. They were more successful compared to many others. And they were qualified, very qualified, and the offices they were given to these refugees that came from Pakistan, they were more successful people. So in this case now, the time is that we pay attention how refugees should return to Afghanistan. The refugees here must go to Afghanistan. The immediate agenda, which is a long agenda for 6 months, we cannot talk about that. It's a short one. And that is first, that is a new child, born child, very vulnerable. Even a small wind will affect it. Very vulnerable child. So we have to be careful. First, their well-being is important. Their unity is important. As the child, the well-being of child is important first, the same their unity, that is important. The second is the child develops, they need kind of clothes to stop it from warm, from cold, from others. The same the government. The government must have tell to the nation that today is better than yesterday. Give them psychological kind of injection to convince them that their today life is better than before. And tomorrow, under their rule, will be better than today. And that is very important because nations can be mobilized for future, giving them hope. All leaders, big leaders, are creating hope among their nations and sustaining those hope in order to move the nation forward. So I think the Taliban must do this, and we must help them. The other thing which the government, the people are asking, whether these people will find food, economic stability, and I explained that to you, that what difficulties they would have. I told about the Fauj, about the skills. So that is another thing, that at least this 6 months the Taliban need to their own well-being, to be fit for the service, be united, to be able to deliver service, and also to give the nation the notion that their life will be going for better. And that must be presented with a tangible signs of economics. So I think in this short period, they need these 3 things to be done.
Questions from you?
When Joe Biden announced that definitely he is going out, before there was a doubt. When he said definitely he would go out, and he would go out without any condition before September 11, when the army, when the government officials understood that the Americans were going out, they didn't fight. They didn't fight. I remember when I was telling at the time of Obama to Mr. Karzai that the Americans are going to out, Karzai was telling me, no, Americans are not going out. When I was telling to Ashraf Ghani, Americans are going out, he said, no, Americans are not going out. They were not preparing, and when I was asking them, when the Americans go out, what you will do? Because logically, Pashto, there is a proverb, Pradai kat terni mushpo. The bed of other person is till half a night, so you have to leave. I was telling them, when they go out, are you prepared? They say, they will no out. No out. So this means they were not prepared. They didn't need to prepare. So when they understood that the Americans were going out, everything collapsed because they were not prepared. And the minorities were so clever and so good people that they didn't fight the Taliban, they didn't fight the Pashtun. The Pashtuns, even the Kandahar in Helmand, which the core of the Pashtuns, they fought the Taliban, their own brothers, their own kins, their own, because the leadership of the Taliban is from Kandahar. The Kandaharis fought the Taliban, but Dostam tribe didn't fight. They cooperated. Even the Dostam house is untouched. Is not touched at all. The Ata Muhammad Nur, he left without damaging his own tribe or his own city. The all others, all of them, they did their own when they fought till they could. But when they understood the Americans are going out, they said, okay, we are brothers. The Afghans are brothers, whether he's Pashtun or non-Pashtun. So they cooperated. Within 13 days, the whole country was surrendered. The whole country was not because the Taliban were so powerful. No, the people didn't want to fight. So things collapsed. At the front of the Americans, their own system collapsed. The Americans were not out. That because the people didn't want to fight. The propaganda question is quite sensitive. We have to be very careful in this. It happened that when the Soviets invaded Afghanistan, millions of refugees came here. Pakistan supported the refugees. The government in Kabul was against Pakistan because you gave refuge to these refugees. The slogan in the government was, slogan in the Russian and Warsaw Pact was, slogan in the big cities in Afghanistan was, Russians good, Kabul government good, Mujahideen Ashrar, Pakistan bad, Pakistan bad. This was a simple formula. Russian good, Kabul government good, Mujahideen Ashrar, they were called them Ashrar, they bad, Pakistan bad. For 14 years, that slogan with all resources that was going on. Exactly the same happened for the past 20 years. Americans good, Kabul government good, Taliban bad, Pakistan bad. Nearly 40 years, Pakistan was projected as bad. And those who defended the country, they were bad. Now, those who invaded, they're gone. But the bad stamp remained over the locals, Mujahideen or Taliban, and over the Pakistan. Now, it is not easy to change it within days, because the whole nation is mobilized anti-Pakistan. Pakistan bad, Pakistan enemy. Pakistan doesn't like a strong Afghanistan. It is now the job of the Mujahideen, the job of Taliban, the job of Pakistan to work together and tell to the people, like as I'm explaining, I've not explained much, but there is a big explanation behind this. I only outlined why it happened. Because the invasion was there, no one was criticizing 120,000 Russian soldiers, Red Army, bombarding the people. Because the TV, the whole media was at the hand of the Russians. They were showing the rosy picture, but they were criticizing those who were opposing. The same 20 years happened this. Now it is time to work and correct the picture. And this is a job that should be done. Thank you.